So we're going to be making one of my favorite dishes. It's a lamb loin chop. This specifically is a short loin chop. It is essentially a T-bone, and on one side you have a strip loin, and then on this side is the tenderloin itself. We're going to encrust that with what's called a persillade. And a persillade is the French terminology for a nice condiment made of parsley, garlic, usually vinegar and oil, but it can be as simple as just parsley and garlic with a little salt and pepper. We're also going to serve that with some roasted spaghetti squash and some sweet potato hash. As always in the kit, we'll have the written directions with the QR code at the top and the amounts on the bottom. In this kit, you'll have 2 lamb loin chops. They weigh about 4.5 ounces a piece. Some spaghetti squash, sweet potato, pepper and Vidalia onions so we can make the hash, a little bit of bacon, some kosher salt, black pepper, some Dijon mustard, some olive oil, some microgreens for garnish at the end, and this is a lamb demi-glace. And for the persillade, some parsley, a little bit of shallot, and some garlic. So the first thing to do is to get your spaghetti squash roasting in the oven, because this will take about 30 minutes or so. So we're going to take out the seeds so you get a nice smooth cavity of the squash. Now at this point, we'll take a little bit of that olive oil, put it right in the center, and we're just going to move that all the way around, get it all over the fleshy part of the squash. And then we're going to season the squash up with some kosher salt and some black pepper. Then we're going to turn the squash over. We're going to put it in the oven for about 30 minutes until the outside is nice and caramelized and the inside is nice and tender. Next is to make the persillade. So pick through some of this parsley. Make sure there's not a lot of stem. You just want the top portions of the parsley. And then we're going to chop everything up. And again, when chopping, just kind of curl your fingers in. Essentially, you're matching the knife up to that and then going down to the board. And because your fingertips are curled, you won't cut yourself. So now we have our chopped persillade, which is the parsley, garlic, and shallots. We're gonna add just a touch of oil to moisten it a little bit. We're actually gonna save some of that oil for the spaghetti squash later on. Season it with a little salt and pepper. And at this point you could add white vinegar, red wine vinegar, or a splash of lemon juice to give it an acidic quality. And just mix that up. That's persillade. We're gonna reserve that for later. Now we're gonna get the ingredients ready for our sweet potato hash. So I wanna start off with cutting off about 1/4 inch of the base. That way it stabilizes everything. Now I can keep cutting 1/4 inches. Now you can stack them up 2 or 3 at a time and do the same thing, 1/4 inch. The reason we're cutting it so small is that when we saute it in the pan to make the hash, it'll actually cook all the way through in the saute pan. We don't have to finish it off in the oven. And then again, 1/4 inch. Then we're gonna do the same thing to the onion. So again, the onion has a base that's still intact right here. We're just gonna basically go 1/4 inch down, and again, not cut all the way through. And then we're gonna cut down about 1/4 inch. And then across. And now for the pepper. So we're gonna take that pepper, the top, just turn it in. And then we're gonna take out the ribs of the pepper, make it nice and flat. And then same thing. The last portion of prep is the bacon. So we're gonna lay out the bacon. And we're gonna cut it into 3 segments. And then we're gonna lay them on top of each other. And then we're gonna dice that. and we're gonna reserve that for when we cook the hash. Now we're gonna season up the lamb loin chops so we can get them searing in the pan. So once again, this is a T-bone. Basically the base is right here, go straight up the middle. On this side you have your strip loin, and then on this side you have your tenderloin. So with some salt and pepper all over. And this one has a fairly nice fat cap. I actually like to leave that on there. Now let's get them seared off. So for this, we're gonna do everything in one pan. First, we're gonna sear off the lamb. And just let it sit until it gets nice and brown. Don't shake the pan or move it too much. So that's what you're looking for, is nice browning of the exterior. So we're gonna flip it over. Now we're gonna brown off that fat cap. And there it is, nice and brown. We're gonna set those on this tray. We're gonna reuse this pan, but we're gonna get rid of the fat that's on the bottom. We're gonna use this for the hash. So we're gonna dump out what's in there. Now I've turned the flame real low. We're gonna put our bacon in there. We're gonna render the bacon. Now that we've seared off the lamb, we're gonna take a little bit of this mustard. And I'm just gonna do one side, but you can do it all over if you choose to. And this is gonna help that persillade mixture to stick to the lamb. And then take that persillade and split it between the two lamb loin chops. Now we're gonna finish cooking these in the oven until the desired temperature. I like to cook mine till about 134, 136. Just keep in mind when you bring these out of the oven and you test the internal temperature with your thermometer that this is a T-bone, so it goes this way and then this way. And the bone portion of the chop is going to take the longest to heat up. So that's gonna be the rarest and the coolest portion of your steak. So you would just wanna hit towards the center and get close to the bone to test the temperature. Now once you have it rendered a little bit, add all your other ingredients. And I've turned up the heat just a little bit, but I'm letting it sit for a moment, and then every now and then, just give it a shake. And then once you have everything nice and tender and caramelized, season it with a little salt and some black pepper. So now that our spaghetti squash has been in the oven and it's nice and tender, we're just going to take a fork and pull the flesh away from the sides. We're gonna add a little more salt and pepper to that spaghetti squash, as well as a little bit of olive oil, and also a little bit of olive oil and salt to the microgreens. Then I've also heated up that lamb demi-glace. Then we're gonna plate up. This is broccoli sprouts and watercress.